Well, it's election season once again, and time for more candidate conversations. Right now, I've got 35th District Representative Dan Griffey in studio. Hi, Dan.
Hi, Jeff. How are you?
Thanks for coming on and talking with me a little bit. First things first, tell me why you need to head back to the House of Representatives for the next 2 years. Tell us why you want to head back over there.
Well, Washington State's founders made it really tough in our Constitution to change Washington State law, and it takes a push on a lot of issues. I have a lot of unfinished business, especially my ending the statute of limitations on felony sex crimes. I'm going to get that done. Monsters that commit those type of crimes should have to look over their shoulder the rest of their life, and I will get it done. I'm the chief champion of it, and that needs to happen. But we still have so much unfinished business. The GMA reform that I have pushed, I have authored, and was successful in passing in a Senate version with a freshman senator, was vetoed. And we are still waiting out here for that GMA reform so we can fully respect private property ownership, the ability to develop, and the ability for our community to grow and strive, get stronger. So the work's not done. We've done a lot since I've been there. Ended the taxes on the property taxes on senior centers, nonprofit senior centers when they do fundraisers. We were able to pass that bill as a bill that I championed, and it was my primary bill. And we're making the life of the seniors out here a lot better because of it. And the state didn't need that tax.
The 35th District is large. You're from Allen, and in between the north part of the district and the south part of the district, we've got a lot of variety when it comes to the types of businesses, the type of population centers, and things like that. How do you take when you're walking down the streets and people are kind of grabbing you and saying, Dan, we should do this, Dan, we should do that, and then balance that with the needs of all the folks in the 35th?
Well, the good news for me, and it's very good news for me, is state constitution says that when we redistrict that we should have like population, like demographics, like jobs, that sort of thing. Well, the 35th district is the most common of all legislative districts. We have one incorporated city, which is the city of Shelton, with a little bit of incorporated Bremerton, just a very tiny amount. But if you go up to Seebeck, Silverdale area, you go to Mason Lake or Hartstein Island, or you go down to Rochester, similar driveways, similar houses, similar concerns about overreaching government and my property taxes are too high. So it's very easy for a legislator in the 35th district because the wishes, wants, needs, and dreams are almost exactly the same.
You're just one of a handful of votes in the House. How do you talk to folks on your side of the aisle, the other side of the aisle, about the needs for the 35th and convincing them that what's good for the 35th is good for the whole state?
It's a subtle process, and the way I go through it is I come from a position of respect, and I start out every conversation with where we agree instead of where we disagree. And I think when we start that way, that we come from a position of trust. And that position of trust builds into, well, tell me more. I hear you always talking about that GMA thing. So I've scheduled and happily some legislators from the rural King County areas are saying, hey, let me take a look. Let me go out and see what's going on in the district. So I think education, so building relationships and education, and when they see the actual effects, because when you're up in King County, you might not feel the actual effects, what we're talking about, what we feel out here in our district, but you build those relationships, you build those friendships, you bring them out, you show them, and they're like, oh yeah, we really do need that. So we have a couple field trips scheduled with Mia Gregerson is one of them. She represents Federal Way, kind of in between Seattle and those areas. And, she's really interested, and she really wants to get to the bottom of what's going on. And I'm proud that she'll do it. And it shows that she's really, really able to think outside the box.
Remind me and the viewers here of kind of your political philosophy, how you look through the lens in your eyes when you make decisions for the 35th.
So the first question I ask myself is it constitutional? Do I have the constitutional authority to pass judgment or enact this law. If it's constitutional, is it supported in the district? And we do during session, and when we're not in session, my assistant and I go to exhaustive extents to poll and find out what are the issues of the district. So is that bill or is that decision supported in the district? And does it help or hurt private sector job creation? And I keep it down to kind of those three. And if it fails one of them, I generally won't vote for it. I don't know of a single vote that failed one of those pieces that I voted for.
Has your philosophies changed at all since you've been in the House?
No. What I will tell you, however, the issues that the sexual survivor issue that kind of came to me my first year in Olympia. I didn't go to Olympia to say I want to be the champion, but I heard the stories. My wife is a sexual assault survivor. She's been open and honest about it, and we talked about it for years. And I just thought, it is time that that I think the most marginalized victim group out there gets their day, gets their say, and that we just say as a society communally, we're not going to take it any longer. So I think my philosophy didn't change, but those that need my help, those that didn't have a proper voice in my estimation, that changed. So those groups changed, and I will always be on their side. I will fight day and night, and we will get satisfaction on these bills. I've even upped the ante on it. I want to end the statute of limitations on the civil side, the civil prosecution, so the civil remedies that people can bring legal action forward to. So we're going to give them their day, and they're going to have their say.
What was the first experience in your life when you realized you had the power to do something meaningful?
I think it was way back when I was a young firefighter, and we were up against the bubble, and they said, "Hey, if we don't pass this EMS levy, you, which I was one of them that they pointed at, are going to have to be laid off. We won't have enough money." And I realized that we could go out, we could make the case to the public. And so it's the first time I engaged in any kind of public speaking. And I was able to tell them, with this amount of investment, this is the return on investment. And I noticed that it was a comfort for me. It was comfortable for me to engage, to know all the facts about a subject and tell them, if we don't do this, this is what looks like it's going to happen. And, I think it was probably somewhere in 1992, somewhere around there, that was my first political involvement. I helped my local fire department pass an EMS levy.
Talk to me about a time where you had to go above and beyond either the job description or your standard call of duty to get a task done.
As ranking member on local government, I do it all the time. My assistant laughs. I felt as ranking member, I have a higher obligation now. So ranking member, for those of you that don't know, that's the highest level that you can reach on a committee. And so you sit right next to the committee chair. So the majority party gets the committee chair. The minority party gets what we call the ranking member and assistant ranking member. I went above and beyond on several bills. One, we were asking the question, a sexual assault victim went to a hospital up in Bremerton, and they found out after sitting there for a sexual assault examination, they sat for 3.5 hours in the waiting room to find out only that they didn't provide that service. I was incensed. So we didn't get the bill passed, but I probably had 150 meetings, and I championed somebody else's bill. I absolutely went out on a limb to make sure that that we can't make those dumb mistakes again. I mean, that's just ridiculous. Why couldn't the hospital tell them within 5 minutes, we don't offer that service, but here's a hospital that does? Hospital Association was pretty mad about the legislation. They said, well, you're going to impose fines and you're going to do this. And I just asked them the question, why does it take us passing a law for you to change your policy? And so we didn't pass the law, but it sounds like the Hospital Association has changed their policy.
You mentioned local government. What are any of the other committees you're on, and what other ways have you worked to enhance your stature in the party?
So I'm on public safety and I'm on early learning. So we're probably going to change the early learning committee to committee on children, youth, and families, because we changed the agency name
Right,
of the agency. Completely reorganized the agency, and because CPS honestly was not doing a very good job. So I serve as the whip. I try to be the voice of reason in caucus. I don't lose my temper. A lot of times, the caucus room can get very tense. But if somebody is, I try to go to them and I try to ask, what's the deal? How can we break through and make this better for you? And I try to be the voice of reason on both sides. And I'll even tell them, hey, this is why the other side's bringing this one up. I mean, really get into the brains of why a bill's being, or the thought process about why a bill's coming forward, and just kind of being that leader from the side. I am well thought of in my caucus, and constantly ask for advice. How do you deal with this? How do you deal with that? Especially with my approach. I just try to teach all new legislators, Democrat and Republican, that don't ever let somebody leave your office where you don't agree on a topic. You could they could really hate your political stance and that sort of thing, but you can always find. I've never found somebody in Olympia that I didn't agree with on at least one topic, and that one topic usually builds to 2 and 3 and 4, and it builds relationships. And I think I'm a relationship builder, a consensus builder. Those are all good talents that I think serve me very well in Olympia, and I will continue to be that person because that's who I am, and it's easy for me to be that way.
Well, in this last minute or two, look at this camera here and tell the voters why they should bring you back to Olympia.
Well, thank you once again for watching this video. My name is Dan Griffey, your state representative. I am absolutely honored to serve you in Olympia. I bring a wealth of knowledge and talent from my perspective as a firefighter. I see what my constituents need and suffer from on a daily basis in my fire job. I bring that knowledge to Olympia. I will always fight for you. I would appreciate your vote. Thank you.
He is running for state representative once again. It's Dan Griffey. Thanks, Dan.
Thank you, Jeff.